Hello, I am Susan Pediacle, and I will be speaking to you today about how leading with IQ will help you be a better leader. So, a little bit about me to begin. I have been in the cyber realm for about 20 years now. My background is primarily in threat intelligence. I used to build a lot of threat intelligence programs, as you can see there. But recently, I've been with NASA for about 2.5 years. I was the InfoSec operations lead for Ames Research Center out of the Bay Area. And most recently, I have been the service management lead out of headquarters in Washington, D.C. I am also a certified yoga instructor with over 500 hours of training, and that's kind of what put me on this journey. To know me is to know that I am very type A, and these extensive hours of training is what helped me turn my hyper self-criticalness into a healthier self-awareness journey. What motivated me to give this talk, I'm sure a lot of you have experienced some sort of a bad boss or manager at some point in your career. And if you haven't, you are one of the lucky ones. But I have had many bad experiences, many bad experiences. From when I started working as a barista when I was 16 years old to being in the military from 18 till, retirement. And then, just being in my cyber career. And I actually might have a little bit of PTSD from a few of them. I'll drop a few anecdotes in here and there about my experiences, but that's kind of the motivation behind this talk. I realized being in the cyber realm, this is something that people really don't talk about too often, and I thought that it would be nice to kind of bring it to people's minds a little bit and give you some tools to work with as well so you can develop your own emotional intelligence. So this is Attack Purple Hats Con, and I know it might seem like an off-key topic to be presenting, but to break it down simply, having emotional intelligence can help you create a positive work environment and build stronger relationships for your teams and coworkers, and in turn, achieve better work results. So I'm going to take a small tangent from emotional intelligence and go back to the title of this talk where I mentioned management and leadership. Is there a difference? I believe so, yes. You might hear me use boss and manager synonymously, and while we do have a dictionary defined difference of the two, they do get muddled together in the real world a little bit. So bosses tend to be more dependent on their title for authority to get things done and lead with fear, while leaders like to inspire their teams and generate enthusiasm. And those teams really want to work for them. They don't want to let their leader down. Bosses tend to lead with an ego and say I a lot. Leaders set aside their egos and work as part of the team, as you can see demonstrated here in the graphic. Leaders coach and develop people, and if there's a problem, they see it as their own and often take onus of it. A boss would be pointing fingers and placing blame for the breakdown in process or a problem. And one of the biggest that I feel easiest distinguishing factors for me is, and things that I have experienced in my past, bosses tend to take credit for work while leaders give credit where it's due. They want to see their people succeed. So how do we get from being a boss, manager, even just an okay leader to being a great leader? What is that distinguishing factor? And some people might say it's, higher IQs or technical skills, but I believe it's emotional intelligence. So for the remainder of this talk, we'll explore emotional intelligence, what it is, why it's important, and how we can develop our EQ. This will take us from being a manager slash boss to a leader. So what is emotional intelligence? It is the ability to recognize, to understand, and to manage our own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. It's an essential skill for both personal and professional use and success, and it's becoming increasingly important in today's world. It is a group of 5 skills that you see here. It enables us to be the best leaders to maximize their own and their team's performances. As we said before, managers who lead with emotional intelligence can create a positive work environment, build stronger teams with their employees, and achieve positive work results. There was a study done by Daniel Goldman, who is seen as the father of EQ, and he found that when senior managers at a company had a high level of EQ, their divisions outperformed yearly earnings by 20%. So, like I said, the 5 key components of emotional intelligence are listed here. We have self-awareness. This is the ability to recognize and to understand our own emotions. It's knowing one's strengths, weaknesses, drives, values, the impact that we have on others. When we are self-aware, we're better able to manage our emotions and behavior. Self-management is the next one. This also could be called self-regulation. This is the ability to regulate our emotions and behavior, even in challenging situations, controlling or redirecting disruptive, impulsive moods, the propensity to suspend judgment, to think before acting. When we're able to manage our emotions, we're better to handle stress and make sound decisions. An example of this was when I was on a team call. We live in this virtual world right now. And I was on a call with my entire team of 18, and somebody was just having a bad day, I think, and they were doing a little bit of talking back and just saying, like, no, they're not going to do something. And it, as a manager or a leader, you could have a response to that. I wanted to have a visceral reaction to the way he was acting, but instead just take a beat. And I responded with, something a little bit more kind, like, let's take this offline, or, whatever was appropriate for that situation. People messaged me afterwards and they were just like, wow, I'm surprised you didn't, blow up at him or something like that. I would have, and stuff. It was just a perfect example of how self-regulation can help in situations like that. The next one is motivation, relishing achievement for its own sake, a passion for work or reasons beyond just money or status. And it's where you show a propensity to pursue goals with energy and persistence. This is another one, like when you're hiring somebody, some people really just kind of hire on skills, and that's it. When you look at the person and you see, like, hey, they have a real drive for this, they have a real love for this, you almost know that they're going to be. I've always said that I would hire somebody with enthusiasm and less talent than just having complete talent and no enthusiasm for the job. And it's never failed me. That approach has never failed me. The next one being empathy, social awareness. This is the ability to recognize and understand emotions of others, the ability to understand emotional makeup of other people. It's a skill in treating people according to their emotional reactions. So when we're socially aware, we're able to communicate effectively and build positive relationships. And then the last one being social skills. This is relationship management. So proficiency in managing relationships and building networks, an ability to find common ground and build rapport with others, to move them to a desired direction. An example that I have for this one, I was able to see that somebody was having a reaction to a change. I came in as a consultant, and nobody really likes consultants. So they were very resistant to the change that I was suggesting. And it was about finding, a mutual ground for them to kind of relate to me and realize that I'm just not the evil person coming in and trying to change everything. And, finding a way of understanding how they would be more receptive to this information versus just throwing it at them and basically forcing it on them. So the ability to use our social awareness and self-management skills to build and maintain positive relationship with others, just kind of like the example I gave you. And when we're good at relationship management, we're able to collaborate with others and achieve common goals, like I was trying to achieve in that moment. So we're born with a certain level of EQ skills, but we can strengthen the abilities through persistence, practice, feedback from colleagues and coaches, maybe a mentor, and we'll talk about that more in a moment. So since we've defined emotional intelligence, we're going to talk about why it's important. And here are a few reasons why EQ is important. Improved communications. When we are emotionally intelligent, we're better able to communicate effectively with others. This helps us to avoid misunderstandings and build those stronger bonds and relationships. Better conflict resolution. When we are able to regulate our emotions and understand emotions of others, we're able to resolve those conflicts in a constructive way. Just like I mentioned with that Teams call, that virtual world that we live in now, they can get heated, and it's very different than dealing with people face to face. Increased empathy. We're emotionally intelligent. When we're emotionally intelligent, we're able to better understand and relate to feelings of others. This can help us build stronger connections with others and create a more positive work environment. Something that comes to mind here is and I'm not trying to like endorse or anything like that, but it's helped me. There's a YouTube clip on empathy. I believe it's Brene Brown, but it's a like little really cute cartoon. But it was probably the best example or way of describing empathy to someone. So that might be something you want to check out. Improved leadership is the last point here. And when leaders are emotionally intelligent, they are better to able, inspire, and motivate their teams. This can lead, again, to increased productivity and better business outcomes because people will want to work for you. People won't want to disappoint you. They'll really just want to make you happy. So we understand the importance of emotional intelligence. We can talk about how to develop those EQ skills. So some tools to try. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being present and aware of our thoughts and emotions. When we're mindful, we're better able to regulate our emotions and make sound decisions. We seek feedback. Feedback from others can help us better understand our strengths and weaknesses. We can it can help us improve our emotional intelligence and become better leaders. Practice empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and regulate feelings. We talked about this already. When we practice empathy, we build those positive relationships, that stronger bond. And we practice active listening. Active listening is the practice of fully focusing on and understanding what someone is trying to say. This is very important. Many of us just passively do this, and we don't even realize that we're not actually listening to what somebody's saying. When we practice active listening, we're better able to understand the emotions of others and communicate effectively. I had a boss that once told me, and it was probably one of the many things that she said to me but this one really stuck with me. And it was, when I'm speaking, don't be trying to think of the question, because she was giving me like a master class in what she knew. She was like, just listen to what I'm saying, and then you can digest it and then ask a question later. Because I would always be like, well, what about this and what about that, immediately after she finished speaking. So she knew. She was like, you need to, and that was one of my biggest lessons in active listening, was when somebody's speaking, don't be thinking about the next thing to say. Don't be thinking about the next question. Just actively listen to what they say, take a beat, and then respond. Practicing self-reflection. Self-reflection is the practice of looking and analyzing our own emotions and behaviors. When we practice self-reflection, we're better able to regulate our emotions and improve our emotional intelligence. So there's an ongoing debate on if emotional intelligence can be learned with these techniques. But I believe with persistence and practice, they can become a part of yourself. And maybe you're already doing some of these items. You're already asking for feedback and constructive criticism, or you practice active listening when someone's speaking. And that's great. And just keep going. And it's just like exercising your body. You are developing your EQ skills every single time you practice and exercise using these techniques. With that, the last topic that I want to touch on are some ways you can lead with better emotional intelligence. And again, it might sound redundant, but think about the last slide as things that you can apply to yourself. And this is what you can do with your team and others. So practicing self-awareness. Managers need to be aware of their own emotions, but they also need to know how their emotions affect behaviors and decision-making. That comes in with like biases and being self-aware for those maybe stereotypes that you have just learned from your culture or history. Self-awareness helps you regulate those and your emotions and respond more effectively in challenging situations. And then the next one would be empathizing with employees. We talked about this with empathy, but managers who are more empathetic can understand the perspectives and feelings of their employees. It's kind of the whole adage of you don't know what somebody else is going through. So kind of always just keeping that in your mind and having the response appropriate to what that person might be going through, or maybe if you don't know either. But by listening to their concerns and demonstrating that empathy, managers can build that stronger relationship and foster positive work culture, because people will know that, you that's part of your character. Communicate effectively. Good communication is essential for effective leadership. And managers who lead with EQ are skilled in communicating in a way that is clear, concise, and empathetic. They also know how to do that active listening and to respond appropriately with the tempered but correct reactions. And then we have developing emotional intelligence in employees. So you can encourage your employees to do the same, just as you're doing this work. You can encourage your employees to do that as well. Encourage your employees by providing feedback, coaching, and support. Welcome them to do the same to you. This can help employees with their own emotional intelligence and improve their ability to effectively work with others. I had a boss when I was overseas. And this one, there's two actually stories that come to mind here. One of them, he thought he could motivate people by threatening to fire them and sending them home. And when he was called out on it, he said that that was his motivation technique. He would just threaten people to say like, "Oh, I'm going to send you home if you don't do your work." Super negative, not a great approach at all. It actually had more of a negative response than anything else, because nobody wanted to work for him then. He wasn't building that enthusiasm. He was just more building that fear. And then the other one that I thought of was when I was, again, overseas. I was having a hard time relating to a manager. Everything was going fine, but I was just trying to explain to him how I was having a hard time with just some aspect of the job. And when I brought it to him, he basically told me to just kind of shut up and color, and to work on my deliverables. And he was not being receptive at all to me saying like, "Hey, I'm having problems, with the process that we had to go through." And again, it was just one of those times where I felt completely shut off, unheard. Didn't really stay that much longer at the job, because people leave bad managers, not bad jobs, right? Like, I mean, it's just kind of like, I loved the job, did not like the manager. Tangent. So, managing conflicts. Conflicts are inevitable in the workplace, just kind of like I mentioned before. Managers who lead with emotional intelligence are better equipped to manage those conflicts by understanding emotions and being able to regulate them and just kind of bring everybody back. And all those involved will work to find a resolution, taking lead from the manager if they're calm about it. And it's a mutually beneficial outcome. So the last one here is building a positive work culture. Managers who lead with EQ can create a positive work environment by recognizing and creating achievements. By recognizing and celebrating the achievements of their employees, providing opportunities for growth and development, and promoting promoting a culture of collaboration and respect. So that's kind of what all of this leads to, right? We just want to have this great culture to work in, have a great collaboration, energy, and respect for everybody around us. And I've always believed also, to get respect, you need to give respect. So overall, managers who lead with emotional intelligence can be more engaged and create a more productive workforce, improving employee retention and satisfaction, and achieve better results for their organizations. So this is a topic that I could do an entire long workshop on all day. I've barely scratched the surface, but I did want to bring this to the forefront of your minds, give you some tools to work with, and just in conclusion, emotional intelligence is an essential skill for personal and professional success. By developing our EQ, we can communicate effectively, resolve conflicts, build personal relationships, and in turn become better leaders. So let's commit to developing our emotional intelligence and creating a more positive and productive work environment. And pending any questions, this concludes my presentation. If you would like to stay in touch, my information is there. Thank you so much.